Hello, my name is Minnie Griffin. I live here in Rochester, New York, and I'm a member of the Seventh-day Adventist Church here, Jefferson Avenue Seventh-day Adventist Church. I would like to share some of my members of my mother, Mary Davis. We lived in Huntsville, Alabama, and this is during the time of the 40s and the early 50s that my mother worked so hard and untiringly in the Seventh-day Adventist Church. Well, she got Bible studies from a gentleman by the name of Mr. Kelly. Mr. Kelly had a very small tent on Pulaski Pike with a very small congregation, and every night they would have Bible studies there. They sing, pray, and have Bible studies, and all those people that he had Bible studies with, they all were baptized, and they all became members of the Seventh-day Adventist Church, and my mother was one of those people. And the first place we had was on Madison Street, a very small, humble place. And I remember three sisters, Sister Johnson, Sister Hines, and Sister McCoy. My mother nicknamed them Faith, Hope, and Charity, because when you see one, you will see them all. That congregation began to grow because Ella C.E. Mosley Jr., he came along at that time and took care of us. And when he couldn't come to minister, he would send the students from Oakwood, which was a very good treat for us at that time. We weren't there very long, and we started raising money for the first church on Gallatin Street. My mother was a leader. She was just a born leader, and she wore many hats. She did many things. She had Bible studies in our home every Friday night. She had a little machine that she got from someplace, and she would show these slides on the wall to the neighbors' children. And a lot of these children went on to go to school and become teachers, some ministers now. After the Seventh-day Adventist Church was established on Gallatin Street, our very first pastor was Pastor Gene Carter. He was our very first pastor. The church grew and grew. When we get together, there was a reading by Ellen G. White. We would sing, there was prayer, and the remaining of the night, the evening, they would sew and make baby clothes, blankets, gowns, booties, and they crocheted these things. And she also did Bible studies from private homes. We walked the streets. Well, there was no real streets. It was the red clay dirt that we trod it with my mother, and she enjoyed doing those things. She sold Message magazines. She couldn't wait for harvest ingathering. Remember those days with the cans and the badge? And we raised money like that. I remember the very first camp meeting at Oakwood. I can smell the sawdust on the ground. It was so nice. The air was fresh, and everything was just so clean and precious during those days. I really believe the grounds were holy those days. I still believe they are holy grounds. And the school is it has grown from academy to a 2-year college to a 4-year college, and today it's a university. We are so proud of that because everybody has supported Oakwood College. And it is beautiful how we can get together and be strong together. And if you can remember Ellen G. White, how they got started, just a very few people in a barn, and now it's all over the world. The deacons, the few that were there, would get together and they would read Ellen G. White writings. We had prayer, we would sing, and then they would go to work making baby clothes, something they really loved to do. And when someone would have a baby in the church or in the neighborhood, they were presented this box of baby clothes, which was very pleasing to the mother. These are very important things because out of the Darker Society became a community thing where they would minister to people You have to remember that that was a time of during World War II, and people just, things were just wasn't like they're supposed to be. Mom was a missionary, and she enjoyed giving Bible studies. She would go door to door to give out information about the church. She would give out literature for people to read, sold magazines. Couldn't wait to harvest them together to get out on the streets with those cans and those badges, and she would raise money like that. I remember the very first deacon and the very first man that joined the church. His name was Claude Brandon. Mama used to give him Bible studies too, and he was a very faithful member. He would come early, make a fire in that pot-belly stove, and when we would get to church, it would be nice and warm and comfortable. One of the ministers that came from that Bible study was Elder Murray Jonah. I'm sure you might be acquainted with him now. And there was others. She also organized the first school, and the first teacher was handpicked by my mother. Her name was Miss Donzel McClinton. She taught kindergarten and first graders at First Church on Galveston Street. Other things that I remember about my mother, there was a bus at my dad's service station, and it was used to go and pick up students from A&M and some other parts of Huntsville, and they were brought to the NAM's funeral home. Someone would go and pick up the people from A&M and other places in Huntsville and bring them to the Bible studies on Sunday night, and it was taught by my mother and Elder C.E. Moser Jr. I also remember going to a camp meeting in Mississippi with Mom. It was a beautiful day, and one of the ministers came on the speaker to tell everybody to go to the big tent because the tornado was coming, and he wanted everybody to be safe. People panicked. It turned dark suddenly, the wind started blowing. Everybody ran to the big tent. The storm came, but there was a lady. I remember this lady. She's a very heavy-set lady, and she couldn't run, but she was trying, and she prayed. She prayed to the Lord to please take care of her. She said she couldn't run like the other people. She said, Lord, I'm depending on you to take care of me. And she went to her little tent and sat down. The storm came. Every tent was blown to the ground except one, and that was the one where this lady sat in her chair. I remember that. And Mama didn't miss no camp meeting, no tent meeting, no revival, week of prayer. She attended it all because she had a zeal to learn more, because she knew the more she learned, the more she could teach. And that's what she did. I also remember Mom. Her zeal was serve the Lord and do good things for people, but she also was a midwife. She delivered babies. I remember when Dr. Drake came to town, I believe he was the first doctor that we had. She went to work with him and delivered babies. And she retired doing that. At the end, she became a midwife nurse, because if you remember, the midwives are outlawed. So she became a midwife, practical private nurse. And she did that until she was about 80 years old. Mom had a great influence on people. I remember how she influenced me, and it was passed along to my children and to their children. There's about 4 generations of Seventh-day Adventists right now that came from Mom, her influence, and it's still going on. I try to remember some of the highlights of my mother, how she influenced so many people. Again, my name is Minnie Griffin. I thank you so much for the opportunity for allowing me to share these precious memories of my mother, Mary Davis, and be blessed.